Welcome to Anatomy of a Business, a discussion of the businesses that serve our community, focusing on their challenges and their successes. I'm Bud Myers from the Virginia Breeze Broadcasting Company. Joining me is Barry Moore, the CEO of the BBB of Central Virginia. Barry, we've had such great information that's come over these broadcasts over the last couple of months.
We have met accredited business owners, and again, we only let one person, the owner or one partner, participate, Bud. And you do the research, your interviewing style has been perfect. And what it comes out across each and every time is there's more to buying into a business or starting a business than the general public understands. And I think that's the benefit.
And it's so much that the BBB can offer to help those businesses. And that's what we're trying to get across in this little 30 minutes. So there was a great comedian that started this Saturday night show with his line, "How sweet it is." And that's what we're going to talk about today with Leo LaPointe with Nothing Bundt Cakes. And if you can get that, sort of write it down, Nothing Bundt Cakes. Get it? Okay, well, Leo's here. And Leo, thanks for being here with us today.
No, my pleasure. I'm excited to be here and talk about our brand and how we got going and where we aim to steer our company.
Cool. Well, let's talk about, first of all, the company itself. This is a high-growth brand. From what I understand, there's like over 800 different bakeries that are out there, companies that are out there, stores, and another 600 units that are also being in development right now across the country. So the brand is expanding big time.
Yes, that's true. When we got in, there was right around 400 or so, and we currently just got sold to KKR, which is a huge conglomerate company that manages $775 billion worth of assets annually. So quite a big company, and they do have the aspirations and the pipeline right now, as you said, for another 600 stores or so. And we do develop, they're trying to get up to about 150 a year.
Okay.
So it does take quite a bit to do that. There are other vendors that need to supply the ovens, the equipment, the tables, everything it takes to build one of these bakeries.
Yeah, you got to gear it all up. Everything,
right.
the supply chain is
right.
enormous when you're doing something like that.
Sure.
So this is such a niche, or seems to me a niche area in the food service business. How do you think communities, how do you determine a community to put a location?
So we take a look at the demographics. We do have a real estate team that we use out of Dallas that actually is extremely knowledgeable of every little area that's suburbia type in the United States. We do have a couple in Canada right now, but mostly we focus on the United States. And if you know anything about Richmond, it has been a test market for restaurants for quite a long time. So they do come out of Florida and Texas and Atlanta when some get started. And this is one of the first test markets on the East Coast.
Why do you think Richmond is a test market?
I think diversity here. It's very well populated. The roadways here and the highway system keeps everyone close networked. It's one of the reasons we chose this area. The entire greater Richmond area was available at the time that we signed our FDD agreement. So it did make sense to come down here versus we have an FDD in Alexandria as well, but that entire Northern Virginia is taken. So it does get a little tricky when you're doing advertising and other things to promote your business because radio waves don't follow zip codes or follow boundary lines.
Exactly.
So it can get a little hairy. So this was an opportunity for us to capture the entire market. And if I do radio or print ad down here, I have the ability to split that cost between multiple locations and lower the cost per unit to reach a larger market area.
So different than going back, showing my age here, but back in the 70s, we had 60 corporate stores that we developed. But in the Richmond market, we actually had a division of stores on each side of the river because people wouldn't cross the river. it was literally you had to put as many stores on one side as the other to be able
I could
to.
see that. It's weird how that happens, these natural boundary lines that get entrenched into people's minds, or we're not going to that side. And we do have that in Fredericksburg a little bit where they won't cross 95, the interstate, for some reason. So, we get them, we're right on the other side. So we do get them there, but it does make a difference in the market.
Let's talk a little bit. How did you get attracted to this brand? This is a franchise. You are a franchisee. But this particular brand, what attracted you to it?
So I was an independent restaurant owner with waterfront restaurants in Fredericksburg and Northern Virginia. And we had a close associate that was an owner of franchisees of CC's Pizza.
Okay.
And also my current partners, Daniel Delgado and Doug Brown, would come into the restaurant, and we would all kind of chit-chat and talk business. And Rob, who had moved to Florida to do this Nothing But Cakes thing, would talk to us about it, and he was telling us about the bottom line and what the percentages were and how this franchise was growing. And he introduced us really to the opportunity of this franchise. And we did our own due diligence and investigating, and we just thought it was a niche in the market that really hadn't been exploited yet. So desserts, a lot of things have come along now, like crumble cookie wasn't around, and that's out, and that went big. So if you could find a little niche in the market and do things well and make good community connections and service your guests, you should be able to be successful.
So what type of restaurant did you have?
Full service American cuisine, a little bit of a Southwestern flair to it. So,
Okay.
Fresh seafood, hand cut steaks. It was kind of a lot of the things were a little Bobby Flay-ish
Okay.
on corn relishes and things like that of that nature.
And how long had you been doing that?
About 20 years.
Okay. Long enough to have all the bumps and bruises.
Long enough, yes.
In that business, God, I don't know how you do that with the kind of margins that you have to deal with.
It's rough. It's rough, and that's what's the attraction to the franchise was, everything's kind of structured. There's training tools already in place. Yes, there is a kickback that goes to the franchisor, but that's where your trade-off is.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to you about that
Yeah.
in a little bit. I would imagine, as in the past, personnel's got to be one of the toughest things you have to deal with on an ongoing basis. How do you try to stay on top of that?
For sure. So we do have some stores, all of our stores really do have our front of the house staff, our joy creators that work at the counter are usually younger, some high school, some college. So there's a trade-off. And we do have some staffing that have moved from the Fredericksburg area or Northern Virginia area to Richmond because they were going to a university down here. So it's kind of helped us in a way. And then as our staff mature and get older and move on to whatever their career path is going to be, we try to keep them suggesting their friends to us or underclassmen and kind of keep that cycle going.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we've been trying to circumvent because, the workforce is tough these days. Everyone knows that.
And do you have, obviously, your business, you have a culture to that business as well as
Sure.
the franchise. How do you make sure that's incorporated, sort of the QC of your HR?
So our slogan for the franchise is "Bring the Joy." So, even with all these stores, I walk in and so do the other owners. We go to, it doesn't matter what store we're in. I like to get daily communication with every staff member that's there. If they're washing dishes or they're a joy creator or they're a crafter or they're a baker or whatever, and we get good dialogue with them. Make sure they're doing well for the day, or if they have any problems or concerns, even if it's with, could be a personality conflict or something like that. But for the most part, all of our stores have a very cohesive culture within, and everyone just likes to have fun and enjoy their position. And it's recently talking to an ex-employee last week, they really enjoyed their time with us and learned a lot in the interactions of the daily workplace.
I would think the demand shifts with different holidays,
Sure.
that sort of thing. How do you judge that? How do you?
It could get a little stressful at times. I mean, cake for the most part, it's it's easy going, and we know what's happening. Mostly 60% of our orders, we know that a couple of days in advance that are coming. And when we go into a new market, it gets a little tougher with the new stores as far as judging how much volume is going to come in for these holidays. But now, having the amount of stores that we do, we can get a good educated guess, if you will, on what should be coming in, what flavors sell the strongest, because these are cakes we bake fresh daily. So you got to really take into account, and they all have a shelf life. So you got to look at what's happening, what we've done in the past. It's tough, but we got a pretty good handle on it now.
Do you
know?
get?
Go ahead, bud.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, so I got to bring up Leo, and you were talking before we started recording, and Leo said there's 5 big holidays. Is that what you said?
Yeah, yes, there is the major holiday,
Yep.
Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Easter.
The problem with that at the Better Business Bureau, my staff has told me there's 14 or 15 holidays, and I give them all those days off. So we need to have a meeting, because there are other ideas. You could go see my staff, because they swear I give them almost 3 weeks of vacation. Think about that. In the car business, I got like 2 days off a year. That's the only holidays we had. So the one thing that, and we brought it up on one of the podcasts before, the Anatomy of Your Business, the VCU program that we put together for our accredited businesses. If you learn how to do internships, you get certified with a micro credential. We give you access to VCU students that want to do internships. So it could be anywhere in the state, because they live all over VCU, and it could be marketing or the front counter. And when you walk into your stores, the one thing that's different than all the other franchise out there, and I owned a franchise at one point, is the people, right? They walk in, and even though you attract, satisfy, retain, it's very difficult. But when you walk into the stores, the cake is smiling at you, but it's the people that are going to serve you that make the difference. Because you can buy cake anywhere. You cannot get Bundt Cakes like this. They're fresh. They're always changing flavors, it seems. But the people are incredible. So
I love it. And I love where it's handicrafted and frosted for your special day, because we do have the special days, right? Not just,
That's right.
best icing ever.
And Barry would know.
I do know.
I'm pretty sure of that. So let's again go back to your past and being part of restaurant owner and dealing with that. How do you change your mindset? Maybe you didn't have to, but the differences of, hey, I'm the guy, and now you're dealing in a fairly structured scenario.
Sure.
Franchise.
Well, the whole thing was kind of different. Obviously, in a full-service restaurant, it's very fast-paced. It's right now the guests. The food goes from raw to completion. Within 17 minutes of the guest ordering, and it comes out right away, and it better be perfect. And obviously, cost of goods is tough with the fresh seafood and hand-carved steaks and things of that nature. Where the cake business, like I said before, it's planned out quite a bit longer. People are planning for their birthday, for their special someone, or for that Easter holiday or whatever it may be. So it was literally about a 2.5 month adjustment, because I was about to come out of my skin, really, because I was just so used to the fast pace. And we get a glimpse of that during some of these holidays we've discussed. But for the most part, on the day-to-day, it's very planned, very orchestrated. I'm very busy doing things that are happening, coming up in the future, but it's not so much the right now. So that was kind of the big adjustment for me, being in the workplace for the bakery.
You have more fixed cost associated. The business is there. How do you try to anticipate the variable cost?
Well, the variable cost is usually around those 5 major holidays, where you're ramping up your inventories, coming up early in that week before the actual holiday arrives. we have a very dynamic team now, and we actually have a CFO, and she has us on basically a spreadsheet that we look at from years past or whatever. So we have already charted what we were going to do that week in anticipation. And usually, sometimes it's within a few dollars, sometimes it's off by 3,000 or 4,000. But we know before we place the orders, a week prior to our raw goods, what we're going to spend on that money.
Is that almost like a commodities deal?
Yes, exactly. What labor we're going to need. So it's very refined, and we have actual financial meetings with all of our general managers once a week.
And what kind of percentage increase have you seen on these materials?
Quite a bit. Obviously, cost of goods changed dramatically after 2020 and the whole C-19 thing. So, coming from corporate, we do have a supply. They have a supply division that we obviously have to buy our proprietary goods from, but we do use groups like Cisco to get other fresh goods as well. But we look at it, we see it. We do have the option to take price usually once a year and increase prices fractionally by 10 cents or 25 cents or so. We went quite a long time without doing that because we like to have great value in our products. So even though we're taking it on the back end for our cost of goods, we've kind of stayed back from increasing our prices for a few years. Lately, we've had a couple of small ones, but that's just all you can do to satisfy the market that's coming in, to create value with your products, and still fall between those guidelines of the margins that you need to make to be successful.
Do you feel like being in a franchise has sort of helped those costs, or?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I was a little more footloose and fancy-free with my own independent things just because I know I was on hand every single day at one or two of those locations, where we're quite a bit more spread out now, and you really need to have systems in place and guidelines that you need to follow strictly in order to be successful in this type of business.
Because of concern of branding and that sort of thing from a national standpoint, I know that a lot of franchises force you to buy directly from them on all the ancillary
Correct.
things. Are those cost holding, or are you seeing equally?
Well, they do have quite a bit of large buying power, so they do come up incrementally, but in small increments. It's not as prevalent like it was with the independent restaurants and buying from Cisco or PFG or one of these big food suppliers, where they're not bound by contracts. Usually they can be, but usually they're not. So they'll creep those prices up on you quite a bit if you're not looking.
Okay.
I think if you went back in your restaurant experience, what I've experienced watching business owners in the restaurant industry, they spend, and other industries too, they spend time sitting in front of their Cisco rep, whatever it was, performance group.
Yep.
They sit and they spend time in their restaurant just talking. Like, time is not a commodity.
Correct.
Whereas you as a franchisee, and again, I own one, and you've owned both now, your own and franchisee, I think the disciplines that you have in the guardrails, your time is a commodity, and you want to make the order, you want to know the KPIs, you want to know your metrics, and that's what you're working on. That's why you're going to be highly successful, which you already are, but it's going to grow, but it takes the consumer market to taste your product, and you do a great job getting your products out there.
Leo, give me some of the critical markers that you guys used in evaluating a franchise. What was it that you said, hey, these guys are solid on, and basically sold you on going that route?
So when we came in, they were actually 23 years old. I believe when we signed on in 2020, we didn't actually build our first store until 21. So they had the longevity there, and just that niche and the quality of product. Obviously, we went in and we tried the cakes. As Barry was just talking about, they really do impact you if you're going to be a repeat guest or not. So we looked at that. We looked at the cleanliness, the operation, the streamline that they have within those stores. And it was just a niche product. And we looked at it and we said, I don't want to throw out our margins right now, but if you run a really tight store, you can exceed 20% still, even with the price increases.
Because there's a double digit between the royalties and the marketing.
Oh, absolutely. And you're still paying those royalties. And depending on when you got in and bought your franchise, they can range between 9.5% and I think 11.5%. So to come out with anywhere near a 20% margin at the bottom, which that has a lot of variables too, if you got a bank loan or all these other variables. We just knew that we could make it, especially, coming from the independent restaurant background where, hey, if you did above 8%, you were really killing it. So this type thing, that was really a big decision maker for me.
Did you have a chance to go to other franchisees to see if there was a variable in quality?
Absolutely, yeah. We started out and going to the Dulles franchisee, and she had only been in it for about a year and a half. She's doing quite well now out there in that area. And then in Dallas, in another Northern Virginia location, we looked at, and very consistent product, very consistent front of the house dynamics as far as the merchandising. We are a little bit of a gift shop as well, so we do have candles, birthday cards, things of this nature out there just about help celebrate any occasion, balloons. So there's a very streamlined and concise consistency between all these different stores that we looked at, especially with product quality and presentation of it. Even our frosting, which we don't call it icing, Barry, we call it frosting. So I had to correct you on that.
I've been corrected almost every single time. Old school, sorry.
But even the way it's displayed on our cakes is patented. So no one else can frost their cakes in the design that we do.
So, as we begin, I want to explore this franchise relationship, franchisee-franchisor relationship. You're a creative business individual that's had his own way, been king of the road for a long time. Where do you feel, what is your obligation to be creative versus the restraints of a franchise?
Well, the obligation that comes from within. So I'm always looking, Daniel and Doug, we're always looking for new avenues to reach more guests and bring them into our market share. Most of it's inbounds with corporate. We do have great relationships with the team in Dallas right now. Daniel is on the marketing board within the company at this point in time. His wife Tina is now on the technical board for Nothing But Cakes. So we're networked in there right now. So there is a variance procedure that you can apply for. So we've filled out quite a bit of these variance forms, and most of the time they let the leash out a little bit with us. It's just because we've been successful in the past of doing things, slightly outside the box at times. But they're very happy with our results. We won Bakery of the Year last year out of our Alexandria store, out of over 700 stores. So even if we're not 100% on the line as far as getting our outreach within compliance, we do get the outreach and we do get results.
Do you work in a coordinated effort as far as the growth, and when is the time for the next location?
We do. We do have a contract on when stores should be opened and where. We've tried the greater Richmond area. We've tried to kind of space them out and go as far away from other stores as we can, starting them up, because you could get some sort of cannibalization when opening them. So you don't want to open them right next door to each other too often.
What kind of radius do you try to get?
So minimally? 15 to 20 minutes, which is could be pretty far on the mileage radius in Richmond with the way the highway structure here is with 195 and 95 and 288, and they all just kind of move around. I guess the furthest store, Colonial Heights, I travel Interstate 95 to get to that one, but still from Carytown, 20, 25 minutes.
Right, really is incredible.
So it's very convenient in the Richmond area for me to get between these stores. There's Chester is on our radar, and we could look at Ashland at some point in time, and a third one down here would be the Highland Springs area, and there's really one major shopping center there.
Do you have a population number that you look at?
We don't. There's a ranking from D to A on these areas as far as demographics go, but there's a wide range of market, whether you're making $200,000 a year or $50,000 a year. We do have quite a few guests that it's a big spectrum. It used to be largely female, 35 to 55. Mm-hmm. Now that spectrum has greatly increased over the last 4 years. I mean, high school kids, college kids love us. We got universities do fundraising with us here in the city of Richmond. So we're quite diverse at this point.
For someone who is thinking about getting into business and has considered perhaps the franchise route, what would you say to them as far as some of the things they should look at to try to make that decision? Which way should they go?
Well, you definitely got to, that's a good question. And what NBC encourages is once you start getting into the process of acquiring a franchise agreement with NBC, they encourage you to call at least 3 different franchisees, talk to them about their business, how they got going, what development has been like, and what their current business is. And I would encourage that for anything, not just Nothing But Cakes, but then you could really get a grasp on how much is the franchisor taking off the top, because you don't pay them, they take it.
Yeah, it's the royalty.
They just take it out every 2 weeks, right out of your account, or whatever the number is.
Every week.
Box was every week.
You got an upfront too, I'm sure.
Yeah. So then you have that and then you could say, okay, what are my margins going to look like after they take their cut? And if you're passionate about their product, I wouldn't be in this if I wasn't very confident and passionate about the quality of experience that you have when you come into a bakery and when you leave with our product, and how you're going to enjoy it off-site at your private celebration, or just if you're having a little individual cake by yourself. So I'm an extremely competitive person, and I like to have quality product and services with my name on top of it. So if you're passionate about something, if it were a Radio Shack, which is a franchise from the past, or cake, or a burger shop, or whatever it may be, I would sample their products before you in the feel of their space. If they're new, if you think they have some growth potential behind them, those are all aspects that I would take a look at before getting into anything else.
Great advice. Leo LaPointe from Nothing Bundt Cakes, that's Bundt. Please get a chance, get in there and sample some of that great sweetness. Barry, I know you are.
I always do. And I want to tell everybody the franchise is accredited here at the Better Business Bureau, and they are a sponsor for our Ignite conversations. So when you come to an Ignite conversation, you don't pay. The sponsors help us, but you're going to get Nothing But Cakes. How about that?
I like that.
So that's the way to sample them. And then you go right over Short Pump and buy a cake to take home. Wedding cake, birthday cakes, every 14 holidays here at the BBB, they have a cake especially for you.
Especially for National DJ Day. All right. Thank you for listening to Anatomy of a Business. I'm Bud Myers with Barry Moore. Till next week. Bye-bye.